So in this video, we are going to take an example of a Node.js server. The same concepts you can apply on any other kind of server. It can be a Nginx server, it can be a Python Flask or a Django server or any other kind of server. So let's start with our example of Dockerizing our Node.js web app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a new directory for me. So I'm going to just write mkdir d4 and then I'm going to go inside that d4 directory, and here I'm going to create a new Node.js app. So for initializing my app, I'm going to just write npm init and then -y and then press enter, which is going to create a package.json file inside my d4 folder. Now for this Node.js server, I will be using Express. So I need to install Express locally for this app. So if you already know something about Node.js or npm, you can easily install the npm package using npm install and the package name. In our case, it's Express, which is a very popular Node.js package or npm package. So I'm going to just write Express here, and then I'm going to give this save flag here. So it's going to be installed inside my directory, and this Express will be added as the dependency in my package.json file. So let me press enter, which is going to install this Express package in my directory. You can see this new directory is created, which is node modules, and this new dependency is added in my package.json, which is Express. So now let's create our server.js file. So if you can see in our package.json file, the main entry point right now is the index.js. You can change it to server.js, and let's create this server.js file, server.js here, and then press enter, which is going to create this server.js file. So we are going to write a very simple Node.js code, which is going to use Express, and it's going to just print hello world whenever somebody will make a GET request to this server. So I'm going to just copying and pasting this code, because this code is available everywhere and it's very simple. So what I have done, I have just imported this Express, and then I have created these two variables. One is the port variable, which will be exposed via a browser or via the REST request, and then we have the host here, which is basically the local host, and we have one GET request here. So whenever somebody makes a GET request to the server, we are going to just send hello world. So very simple Node.js server code, and we are going to run this code. Let me clear this terminal. So I'm going to just write node and the name of my server file, which is server.js, and when I just run this server.js using Node.js, it's running like this, and it's printing on which host and ports it's running. So let's open our browser, and we are going to just open this URL, which is 0.0.0.0 colon the port number on which we have started this Node.js server, and I'm going to just press enter, and it just prints hello world, which is the expected result, right? So now we want to Dockerize our Node.js server. So let's see how we can Dockerize our Node.js server. So for that, I'm going to just close this app or stop this app, and now I'm going to create a new Docker file. So let's just create this Docker file by just giving this command, which is touch Dockerfile. Now I'm going to go inside my Dockerfile, and here inside my Dockerfile I'm going to use the node base image. So when you go to the Docker Hub, there is an official base image for Node.js, and that's what we are going to use. So I'm going to just write from, and the base image will be Node, and the version of Node we are going to use is version 12. So you can use the latest tag also here, which is going to give you the latest version. Now in the next step, I'm going to define the working directory using the work dir keyword, and we are going to define this work dir in the user/src/app folder. And now this should be work dir, right? So like this. Okay, so we have defined our working directory. Inside this working directory, we are going to copy our code, and then we are going to do all the stuff. Now let's copy all the files which are there in our current folder to this Docker image. So we are going to use the copy keyword to copy all the files. But first of all, we need to copy the package.json to the container, so that we will be able to run the npm install command. And npm install command, what it does, it just installs all the dependencies into our container, right? So let's first of all copy the package.json file. So we are going to copy the package log.json file and package.json file. So these two files are responsible for all the dependencies to this directory, right? So now we have copied the package JSON files. So next step is to install all the dependencies using npm install. So you can just give this command, run npm install. Now if you are working in the production environment, this command can be a little bit different. Let me just write this in the form of comment. So you can just write run npm ci, and then you can give this only production flag, production. Okay, so if you are working in the production environment, you can give this command. If you are working in the development environment, then you can just do this command. So npm install will install all the dependencies, and in our case there is only one dependency, which is express, right? So via this npm install, this express npm package will be installed in our Docker image. Now in the next step, once all the dependencies will be installed, we are going to just copy all the files which are there in our server code. So we only have this one file, which is server.js, but let's say you have many modules and many files inside your Node.js projects. So I'm going to just write copy, and then I'm going to copy all the files and folders which are there in the current directory. Okay, now next step is important, and this step is we are going to expose our port. So I'm going to just write expose, and we are going to expose the port which we are using in our server. So we are using port 8080 in our server, so we are going to expose this port. That means that we want to expose port 8080 into our Docker container. So this expose keyword means that we want to expose port 8080 from our container to the outside world, for example to our host machine. And this expose is a way of documenting, so it's not going to publish your port at runtime. It's just a way of documenting in your Docker file that you intend to expose this port 8080 in your Docker container. So exposing port using this expose keyword is a way of documenting which port are used, but it does not actually map or open any port. We are going to open and map the port using the docker run command, and we are going to use a different flag for publishing our port or opening or mapping our port later when we just build and run our Docker container. Now the next step here will be to run our Node.js application, and we all know that we just need cmd, and then inside our square brackets we will just write npm, and then we are going to just give this comma, and then we are going to give the name of our server.js file. So this will be server.js. Now here one interesting point to note here is when we are going to copy all the files and folders from our current directory to the Docker image, you can see I have used dot. That means it's going to copy node modules also into your Docker image, and we have already installed our node packages using this npm install. So this is going to overwrite this node modules folder from your image, right? So to avoid copying your node modules into your Docker image, you can create a Docker ignore file. So this Docker ignore file is going to prevent your local node modules or your debug logs from being copied into your Docker image. So let's just create this Docker ignore file. So to create this Docker ignore file, you can just write touch.docker ignore in the same format which I have used. So this format is recognized by Docker, and whatever you write inside this Docker ignore file. So let's create this Docker ignore file first of all. So we have created this Docker ignore file, and we want to exclude the npm modules and npm debug.log file from copying into our image. So this means that we have added npm modules and the npm debug log file, which will be excluded when we are going to copy the files from our local container to the Docker image. Okay, so this will avoid the overwriting of our npm modules. Now we are done and we can build our image. So let me clear this terminal. So now let's build our image by giving the docker build command. So I'm going to just write sudo docker build -t and then the image name. So let's say I'm going to just give the name node underscore test colon the tag. You can give any tag to your image. So let's say I am going to give 1.0.0 tag to my image, and then the context, and then press enter, which is going to just build this image, and in few seconds this image will be created. So let me clear this terminal once again and let's list out all the images. So sudo docker images, and when you see here our Docker image is created with the tag 1.0.0 15 seconds ago. Okay, so now we are going to run our container. So to run our container we can just use sudo docker run. So as I told you, we want to expose this port 8080 so that this server can listen to the request from the outside the container, right? So in order to map the port, we use the flag which is called -p, which is also called publish, and -p is a way of mapping a host port to a running container port. So this is our running container port, and let's say we want to map this port which is running inside the container to our local host machine, and we want to, let's say, give the port 3000 in our local host machine, and which is going to be mapped to port 8080. So if you specify this expose the port, and if you specify this publish flag to map the ports, then the service in the container is accessible from anywhere, even outside the Docker. So this means that we want to expose port 8080 from our container to the port 3000 inside our host machine. And now let's give the name of our image which we want to run, which is node underscore test colon 1.0.0. okay, and let's run this Docker container, and this gives me error, and the error is obvious because instead of using npm I should have used node, okay, because we have started our server using node command, not npm. Npm we use just for installing our packages and managing our packages, right? So let's rebuild our image once again, and once our image is rebuilt, we are going to just run our container. So now our container is running and we can see the same output. Now we might be confused, or you might be confused, that we are exposing the port 8080, and when we go on this URL on our browser, so let's go to this URL on our browser and let's see if it works or not. So it's not going to work because we have mapped the port 8080 to the port 3000 on our local machine. So this is the port on the container, on your Docker container, and this is the port which it will listen on your local machine. So we want to listen on port 3000 on our host machine. So instead of port 8080, you can give port 3000 and it's going to print hello world, right? So this is how this port mapping work. So this will be the port which will be available on your local host, and this is the port you have exposed inside your Docker container. So let me just stop this container. So I'm going to go to the next terminal, and I'm going to just write sudo docker ps to list out all the running containers, and this container is running. So I'm going to just use the container ID from here, just copy the container ID and then sudo and then the container ID which is going to stop this container. So now this container is stopped, and you can see in this terminal also that we are out of the container, right? So now let me just clear this terminal, and now let's say we want to map to the port 8080 itself on our host machine also from our Docker container. So this is the port on the Docker container, and we want to map this port to the same port on our host machine. If it's available, then it's going to run fine. So let's run this command, and now this time when you go to the browser on port 3000, obviously you will not get anything because we have mapped the port 8080 to our host machine now. And now when you give port 8080, it's going to give you hello world. If you want to run this server in the detached mode, as I have told you, you can use -d so that this Node.js will run in the detached mode. That means it will run in the background. So this is how you can expose the HTTP port. You can also expose the TCP port and the UDP port from your Docker container. So let me just stop this container. So I'm going to just stop this container first of all, and let me show you how you can expose the UDP and the TCP ports. So let's say you are running application, and in this application you are doing some TCP communication or the UDP communication. So for mapping the TCP port and the UDP port, you can use the flag -p, and then you can use this kind of notation. So the port which you want to expose from your container, let's say I'm just exposing port 80 and /TCP. So in case you want to expose the TCP port, you just need to write /TCP after the port which you want to expose from your container, and this will be the port you want to expose to the host machine. So this port will be available on your host machine from this port to your container. So this is the mapping, right? For UDP, you just write /UDP, right? So the flag is -p. You just need to write /TCP or /UDP to expose the UDP or the TCP flag. You can expose multiple ports also by using this -p flag. So it's not that you just can use only one -p flag. You can use multiple -p flags to expose multiple ports from your container to the host machine. So this is how port mapping works in Docker. I hope you have understood this concept, and I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video.